Hello my friends, and welcome to this video, which was just a random idea that I had. It kind of just came out of my mouth. It was a video on my homeschool channel is what it was, and then I was like, wait a minute, I should actually do it. I was talking about how there's so many things I want to learn about and how I should just summer school myself, and I decided, why not? We are just finishing up our homeschool year, and so I will have 3 months where I don't have to be teaching kids, other than everything that you teach them in the everyday. But I thought this would be the perfect time to create a little curriculum for myself for the summer. I definitely miss parts of being in university, so things like my DIY literature degree and this summer school idea, they're kind of my way of continuing my university education more personalized and sometimes better than what I got in university. So I kind of went through and I made a bit of an outline for myself that I'm going to be sharing here with you guys, and then I found different books to go in these different sections. So this is not going to replace my DIY literature degree. I am still going with that. I still really enjoy it. I am going to be working on my year 3 literature degree that will be coming out in the fall, but this is a little bit more well-rounded. Whereas the DIY literature degree is really looking at literature, this covers a wider variety of things. I'm just realizing I forgot to grab a book. I'm gonna quickly grab that. Okay, book acquired. Let's adjust here a little bit. Even though this is not a literature degree, it is still going to be literature heavy because I like books. That's just who I am. That's how I like to learn. So it is very book heavy. Part of the books and resources that I've chosen are what they are is because I'm going to be doing some proofreading for school for next year, mostly for my oldest. My younger kids will be generally reading books that I've already read or we've gone through over the years, but my oldest, not that I don't trust her to tell me if a book is terrible, but I want to be able to talk about the books that I'm assigning to her, be able to talk with her about them, and I pick books for her because they sound good, so therefore I want to read them. So there's some of that on here that kind of played into how I picked some of these resources and books. There is also some room for like some personal choices as well. So here is how I have it laid out. I have one book that I don't know how to categorize. We'll start with that one in a bit here. Then I have a mythology section because it's something we're going to be studying next year and something I want to learn more about. So I'm going to be doing Greek mythology, a Shakespeare, some Jane Austen, some poetry, short stories, history, biographies, a personal subject, which I fairly quickly decided was going to be birds. I have a little bit of an obsession. Then I have a nature lore section and geography. And then in addition, I will be reading some other classics, either from my DIY literature degree or just other classics I want to read. And I want to watch a play or a movie, probably based off of something that I'm learning this summer. That is my overall outline. Now I'm going to dive in and tell you what I've picked for each of these. So the first thing that I didn't know how to categorize is a book that I'm assigning for my daughter next year. I have started it before, and my bookmark is on page 6, and the book only starts on page 3. So hopefully I can get farther this time. And I should also say, I do not believe that I will get through all of the books I'm going to be sharing today, but I wanted to create a good list so that when I finish a book in a section, I can start on another one. Or if I find one didn't really work for me, then I can just skip over to the next one. So the first book here, A Classic Guide to Intelligent Reading, is How to Read a Book. This was originally published in 1940, and I've heard it recommended in the homeschool world. I found this in a little free library a couple of years ago. And so here we are told about the various levels of reading, how to achieve them, from elementary reading through systematic skimming, inspectional reading to speed reading, You learn how to pigeonhole a book, x-ray it, extract the author's message, criticize, etc. Different reading techniques for reading practical books, imaginative literature, plays, history. It seems like a really good resource and something that would be really good for going into my summer school and my DIY literature degree. So yeah, like I said, last time I read 3-ish pages, so aiming to do better than that. Even if I only do a part of it this summer, and I finish it throughout the school year or finish it next summer, I at least want to get a decent chunk in, like at least a third to a half is a goal, but ideally the whole book, of course. And then I want to include some Shakespeare. Man, I haven't read any Shakespeare since high school. Didn't really enjoy any in high school, didn't really get anything out of it in high school. So a few months ago I pulled this off my shelf and I haven't read it yet, but I put a bookmark in, Much Ado About Nothing. And I have a bunch of Shakespeare books in the No Fear Shakespeare edition. So these have the original Shakespeare, I think, on this side, and then the modern day plain English translation on this side. So you can read the original and then you can hop over and see what it actually says. For instance, this page, the original says, "Sigh no more, ladies, sigh no more. Men were deceivers ever." And the modern translation says, "Don't cry anymore, ladies, don't cry anymore. Men have always been deceivers." Not a huge change, but makes it easier to understand. And yeah, this is what I need as someone that hasn't read Shakespeare in over 20 years, and like I said, didn't really enjoy it back then, so we're gonna start with Much Ado About Nothing. I already skipped over. I also said mythology, and we're gonna do some Greek mythology. My kids have enjoyed The Lightning Thief. My oldest has read the first book, and I think my second has read the entire series, and they've enjoyed the Percy Jackson TV show and stuff. And so I found this in a little free library last month. Favorite Greek myths retold by Mary Pope Osborne, the lady that wrote the Magic Treehouse books. And so this has like 16-ish Greek myths written for kids. Big font, there's some pictures in here. I have no idea what if the myths in here are the best ones to start with, the most common ones, because I don't know anything. This one is The Weaving Contest, the story of Arcane and Minerva. Yeah, I never learned any mythology, and I feel like it comes up a lot in different books and life, and so something I want to read. I left space in my notebook under the myths section for this book plus another one. I don't currently have another one lined up. I thought I would see how this goes, and if I'm really interested, I will choose another book. If you guys have Greek mythology recommendations, keeping in mind that I know nothing and will know a little bit more after this, I would love to hear them. And that kind of goes for all of these sections. If you guys have recommendations that you think I would enjoy in these different sections, please let me know. And like I said, I won't get to everything for sure. Then, where's my next stack here? I want to do some Jane Austen. I've never participated in Jane Austen July, I don't think. I've meant to, I've wanted to. It just hasn't happened. And it is time for me to reread Persuasion. I'm currently finishing Sanditon, and then I will have read all her main works, some of them multiple times, and then all her 3 other works, unfinished and shorter. And I want to start rereading, and this one is my favorite. So I want to start with Persuasion. I got this from the thrift store a little while ago. I own it in a couple different editions, but I thought it'd be fun to read from here because whoever read it did underline a few things, but this is one of those times where you can kind of tell they didn't last very long. Oh, they only underlined stuff in the introduction. Did they even get to the book? Like it's in pretty good shape considering how long it's been kicking around. So going to reread Persuasion. And then also for Jane Austen July, I would like to read Jane Austen at Home. This is a biography by Lucy Worsley. In May of last year, I read her Queen Victoria biography. Thought it was very well done. I think it's quite different than this one. That one, I'm totally blanking on how it was formatted now. But this one I think is going through room by room or something of her childhood home. So it sounds very interesting, and there's pictures, which always makes everything better. So, oh, the font is really small. I never noticed that before. Okay, once again, if I don't finish a book and if I just start it and, you know, I get partway through and I pick it up next year for Jane Austen July, I just need to tell myself that's okay. You don't need to complete a book in a month or like at a certain time. This is on my list of books to read before I turn 40, my before 40 list. So I have just over a year for that. I'll be turning 39 here about a week and a half after this video goes up, a week after it goes up. So hopefully I can finish it within this year, but it's okay if I can't. Next up needs to be some poetry. Need to read some poetry in summer. I have 3 options here, or not options, but 3 I will be working through. One of them is poems about trees. This is an Everyman's Library Pocket Poet Collection. I started this a while ago and I am, where am I here? A third of the way through. I will say that I'm not enjoying most of them. It is a very wide variety of poets, from very modern to from like 772. A lot of translated works, some of them are not, and just a lot of them aren't. Like, I love trees. I love trees. But some of them, I'm like, is this really even about a tree? I don't know. Not really loving it, but I want to finish it. I'm sure there will be some good ones throughout here. I want to reread this poetry collection. It's called Wildflower Pages by Brittany Litster. Litster. And my mouth struggles to say the T and then the S and then a T. Litster. Yeah, it's not that hard. I bought this last summer, year before maybe. Read it, really enjoyed it. It's about nature and okay, what does she say here? Created in the secret place where heaven whispers loudly, Wildflower Pages is a collection of poetry that carries peace, joy, and love, precious gifts given to us by God. Inspired by the never toiling, never striving wildflowers in Luke, this book is for everyone looking to exchange the burden of perfection for a carefree day in the fields with a loving Father. And I just decided to randomly purchase this last year. I think I checked out her Instagram and was like, yeah, I like her poetry. And a lot of them are super short. They're just like a few lines long. They were really good, most of them. I mean, it's poetry. Some of them obviously speak to a person more than others. I need to check to see if she has more books, because I highly recommend this. I've never heard anyone else talk about it, and more people should read it and love it. So that'll be a reread, and then I am very slowly working through the poetry of Robert Frost, because this kind of lines up with my DIY literature degree for the year. He was in the time period that I'm currently studying. I am, once again, I would say like more like a quarter of the way through this one. Some of them I love, lots of them I don't. That's okay. And so I don't plan on finishing this one, but I would love to get farther through. So those are my 3 poetry books. I generally, I don't know, some days, some weeks I will read like a poem a day, and then I won't read for a week or 2, and then I'll read like 10 poems from each book in one day. Or it's not very consistent, but I'm very slowly being consistent. Kind of in the same vein as poetry is short stories. I own a bunch of short story collections, and I started one a year ago that I'm not very far, maybe a 1/5 of the way through. I'd like to finish this summer. The World of Jeeves by P.G. Wodehouse. These are just short, oh man, oh no. It's been a long time since I picked this up, and I stopped in the middle of a short story. So probably gonna have to start that one over. They're just short stories where we follow this guy's name's Birdie. Couldn't remember if it was Bernie or Birdie. And his butler is Jeeves, and Jeeves just always knows what needs to be done. They're entertaining, they're funny. I'm not enjoying them, but it's taking me forever. And so how many are in here? I don't think there's even that many. I think it's only like 34. Yeah. And I'm on number 8. So really, if I did one a day for a month, I could easily be done. So I would very much like to finish this summer. And if I were to finish this, I'll grab another one, a backup. If I finish this, I have another one I want to start. I had put this one on my TBR cart when I updated it. The Complete Stories of Flannery O'Connor. There are a bunch of stories in here. Oh, these ones aren't numbered. I would guess 25 to 30 in here as well. So if I finish The World of Jeeves and I want to pick up another short story collection, this is the one I'm going to pick up. So many stacks of books here. Okay, next up we're on to history. So for school this next year, we are going to be focusing on 1900 to about 1949 / the end of World War II. A little bit of leeway there. So partly I'll be reading a couple books for that, but I also want to read this one, A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson. I got this one from the thrift store. Yeah, I have heard about it. I've read it. I think I've only ever started Bill Bryson books. I think I've started 3 and DNF'd them all. So I want to give this one a try and see how it is. See if it's another one that I'm going to quit. I don't really understand what he means by nearly everything. Like, are we going from start to finish here? Start to current? We're starting with How to Build a Universe, Welcome to the Solar System. So I'm assuming he will have a different philosophy on the start of the Earth than I do, but I'd like to like skip through to some of the sections and see if there's anything that we can get out of here for school or anything in the future. And then I want to read All Quiet on the Western Front. This was written, when was this written? This is the testament of Paul Baumer, who enlists with his classmates in the Germany army during World War I. They become soldiers with youthful enthusiasm, but the world of duty, culture, and progress they had been taught breaks in pieces after the first bombardment in the trenches. Through years of vivid horror, Paul holds fast to a single vow: to fight against the principle of hate that meaninglessly pits young men of the same generation but different uniforms against one another, if only he can come out of the war alive. So when was this written? 1928, and I believe it came out as a movie. And yeah, so it's one that I'm very curious about. Have you guys read it? Let me know your thoughts. And then the other one, I think it's a World War II book. It's called Fly Girl, which I obviously read the description when I put it on the list, and I don't remember now, but I think it's about a female pilot in World War II. I'm going to try to check that one out as well. And now on to biographies. Okay, I have 3. We'll see if I can get to all of these. To a Different Drum. This one my daughter actually read last year. It's An Adventure of Radical Obedience by Pauline Hamilton. And so she was kicked out of college and hooked on drugs. So she recklessly drove her car towards a cliff near her home to end it all. At the last moment, her tire blew out, leaving her stunned in the car. Pauline's life changed forever. She turned at once to God, who had rescued her, and in grateful amazement offered her whole life to him. This dedication would eventually take her to China and over 30 adventure-packed years as a missionary. So I'm very curious about that one. And then I recently got Tortured for Christ by Richard Wurmbrand and The Pastor's Wife by his wife Sabina Wurmbrand. They were imprisoned in communist Romania in 1948 or around then. And so this is each of their stories. His has been turned into a movie, which I could watch. I could watch this movie. I'm not very good with violence in movies, so I'm not sure. And I'm not sure which one of these I should read first. Do you guys have a suggestion? His is more famous and the cover looks great. But I'm kind of more interested in hers. But if there's kind of an order that I should read them in, let me know. Okay, just stacks of books here. Next is my personal subject, which is going to be birds, like I said. So I have requested a bunch of books from the library. I own a few different books about birds, more like field guides and stuff like that. Since moving, it's interesting because we didn't move that far, but there's different birds here. And so I want to also just spend time in nature looking at the birds, even the ducks. They have different ducks here, and learning what they're called. It's amazing how many bird names that I know / knew. I don't know where I learned them. And then now it's like, oh, I don't know what kind of bird that is. So that's kind of what I want to work on. I'll put up pictures of a bunch of books I've requested from the library. I have no idea if any of these are going to be any good, so I just requested a bunch. Then I've got nature lore, which is it's like a book that is very nature-y in, I don't really know how to explain nature lore, I'm realizing. It's just got a lot of nature aspects in it. It's usually a fictional story. You could think, I mean, Wind in the Willows I think would maybe count. That one's a little bit extreme on the fictionalization. Peter Rabbit, stuff like that. I want to read Freckles by Jean Stratton Porter, and I would love to get to Girl of Limberlost or whatever that one is as well. Probably will only get to Freckles. And then I would like to read some Robert Macfarlane. I guess this is more just nature in general. So I love the ones that he's written for kids. I love both of those. I'm thinking more, he has some that are denser about nature. So I don't have one in particular picked out here, but I'm gonna look through them and see. And then geography. There are 2 books that I would like to read that my daughter might be reading for next year. One is The 29th Day. This is about a group that is canoeing from, where did they start? Northwest Territories into Nunavut? I think around, or do they start in Ontario and then go up? I don't remember exactly where it is, but somewhere in Canada they go. And this 17-ish year old gets mauled by a bear on the 29th day. And he's written the book. I have read the first few pages because I was just trying to see, is it written really terribly? Should I just mark it as a no right off the bat? And it was very interesting. And there's a lot of, even though I put it under geography, there's a lot of nature in there, a lot of birds mentioned and places that I was looking up. So that one's really interesting. And then there's one called Into the Abyss. This is about a plane that crashes, and I just brought it back from the library, but I have the ebook as well. It crashes in northern Alberta somewhere, and it has a politician, a cop, a prisoner, and a couple other people in the plane, and I think they all survive. So that one sounded really interesting. So those 2 I would also like to get to. Yeah, and then play or movie, I'm going to kind of wait to see which book I want to kind of look to see if it has a movie or a play. If I've really enjoyed it, then I'm more interested in checking that out. So let me know if you've read any of these, any recommendations, especially the birds. I don't really know if any of the books that I have requested are going to be any good. And mythology, I'm always looking for your guys' recommendations. You always have great ones. So that's my summer school plan. Let me know if you wanted to join me in creating your own. Feel free to adapt any of these things as you wish. Put more books on, less books on, other things. It doesn't really matter. But I just love learning, and I'm also a bit of a rebel and like to learn things that I want to learn about, not things that a university tells me that I need to learn about. So this works for me. Thanks so much for hanging out with me as I chat about all the books again.